Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a pleasure, it's a joy, an honor to be with you in this election season. Early voting has started all over the country. Have you voted? Please go to vote.org, find out where your polling place is, find out if you are still registered to vote. Many places around the country have same day on site voter registration. And if you are blessed to be in one of those places, even if you've been pulled from the voter rolls, you can go on and get registered to vote. But if you've been pulled from the voter rolls and you're in a state that does not provide you that space to register on site on the same day, please get registered anyway, because chances are there are going to be some runoff somewhere and you will be able to vote if you go on and get registered. You got to get involved, everybody. So please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That's the only place where I can have friends. The only place. Facebook is kicking everybody off on the landing page. So go to Santita Jackson and Friends. Santita Jackson and Friends. And then, of course, the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. That is where we prefer you to be. That's where Facebook told us you need to be. Mike Burries, how you doing? Want everybody to come on back, come on back, come on back. We've got to talk about these consequential races. This is a really big year. There are many pivotal states. Many of them, interestingly enough, are located in the South. And what's also been interesting is that more and more Black people are moving back to the South. Because remember, we are really cultural Southerners no matter where we go. We take the cuisine and the customs with us because we were chased out of the South. We're almost like Northern refugees, if you will. Almost every Black family, those of us who've been here for generations and generations, we talk about our Southern roots. And then we talk about the tragedies and the pain that pushed us out, right? So think about that. And many of us, interestingly enough, the arc of history is long, but it does bend toward justice. It does. And so many people going back home, going back south. And therefore, you've got just huge populations of African Americans, for example, in the South. The largest gathering of Black people, the largest population of Black people are in Texas. But guess what? You have a huge Latino population. They speak Spanish, but they're really indigenous people. Think about that. They're really indigenous people, mixed with the Spaniards. And the darker they are, the closer they are to the indigenous people. The indigenous people are very brown people and very dark people, darker than many African Americans. And indeed, many Black people trying to escape slavery, seeking to escape slavery, guess what they did? They went to Mexico. And so many of these people are migrating, they're coming back home. They called it El Norte, did they not? So everybody, let's get right to it. Let's get right to it. So let's talk about some of these races. We'll be doing that going forward as we go through how to vote and the challenges that people are having with voting. And by the time you see this, and those of you who are listening to us right now, we are going to have a special showing of Vigilantes Inc., America's new voter suppression hitmen, at Rainbow Push tonight at our international headquarters here in Chicago at 930 50th Street. It's at 6 p.m. We do hope that you will be there. It is going to be something really special. And Greg Palast, the filmmaker, will be there leading a discussion and a wonderful panel after after the film is shown. Everybody has a lot of questions. Everybody has a lot that they're really looking at, a lot that they're really looking at. So let's get right to it. Let's see if we have Dr. Starks in. Dr. Starks, can you hear us now? Don't know if you can, but you know what? Dr. Starks, can you hear us now? Well, we will try and figure that out. But we are honored to have the head of the Black Legislative Caucus in Texas with us, a state representative, Ron Reynolds, our brother beloved. He's been here so much. He's part of the family now that many of us don't know the tremendous role that he has in rallying the Black legislators in his state. And so I have to tell you, I consider myself as someone who kind of stays on top of things politically. So in the middle of the night, about 2 or 3 in the morning, yes, I am up that early because with talk radio, you have to stay on top of the news. And so I've almost become an insomniac. That having been said, I saw something really interesting. I was taken aback by it, quite frankly. Senator Ted Cruz from Texas was making an appeal on a Chicago station for money because he said, I am in a tight, tight race. I bound out of bed. I go to my iPad. I'm like, whoa, what is going on? How did I miss this? I knew Colin Allred, the congressman from the great state of Texas. I knew he was running, but I missed how he had closed the gap. Now, when we think of this seat clearly has been vulnerable for some time. We're going to talk about Beto O'Rourke, who I met as a little boy while his father was campaigning for us and was one of the chairs of our campaign. I remember reading all these articles about Beto O'Rourke. He was like, "Oh no," Reverend Jackson was central to his narrative. It was like, "Whoa!" You see people over and over and over and over and over and over again. We met a lot of wonderful people in those campaigns, and he talked about how that campaign impacted him. Well, he almost won, almost twice. I mean, just like Charles Booker in Kentucky, almost, almost, almost. Well, so now uh, we're even closer with a black congressman from the great state of Texas. So you've been campaigning with Colin Allred. Help us to understand who is he, and then help us to understand who Ted Cruz is. Starting with Colin Allred, Congressman Colin Allred. Who is he, first of all?
Well, Santita, it's great to be on with you. Thank you for covering Texas. The reason why this election is so important, I'm gonna frame that, then I'm gonna answer your question, is because the balance of power in the United States Senate could come down to Texas. We know right now that West Virginia is Democrat Senator Manchin not running for reelection. West Virginia is going Republican, certainly. The race for senator in Montana, Senator John Tester, the incumbent, is underwater, almost double digits, and the all almost all the experts say he's certainly going to lose. I'm optimistic that he can maybe pull out a squeaker, but it looks like he's going to lose. And so for the Senate, and this is me speaking from a partisan lens, I'm a proud Democrat, but for the Senate to remain in the control of the Democrats, it could come down to Texas or Florida or Nebraska. Those are the three states that they think that are within reasonable shot, and Texas has the strongest shot. So who are we talking about? We're talking about Congressman Colin Allred, a United States congressman from Dallas, Texas, who flipped a seat in 2018 to that was held by a long-term Republican incumbent when no one really gave him a shot. Right, this was an outside chance. He flipped the seat because he had an appeal. This was a former NFL player. He went to Baylor undergrad. He played for the Tennessee Titans. He was a linebacker. After he left the NFL, he went and he's a lawyer. He was a constitutional lawyer, a civil rights lawyer. This is someone who wasn't just a good athlete, but he was smart, he was intelligent, and he was passionate about service. And then, after being a constitutional and civil rights lawyer, he decided that he wanted to make a difference because the congressman that represented his district was very MAGA like, very conservative. And so he ran on a platform of women supporting women's reproductive rights, supporting voting rights, and other things. And lo and behold, he won. And now he has the audacity to run for United States Senate. Now, here's the thing. Texas has never had an African American U.S. senator, but there are more African Americans in Texas than any other state. Senator Congressman Colin Allred is this guy has been very one of those people in the House that has worked across the aisle. So he's respected. And get this, he has the endorsement of Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney endorsed him against Senator Ted Cruz.
Why?
What's that?
Why?
Because she has seen how he works across the aisle, and she's seen how Senator Ted Cruz was one of the people that supported the insurrection. He was a Trump enabler. Even after Trump stripped him down, talked about his dad, called his wife ugly. Those are my words. Those were Trump's words when Senator Cruz ran. They were competing in the primary. This was before President Trump won the presidency. They were in the primary. They were the last two men standing. And you know how Trump is. Well, he called him Lying Ted. He talked about his wife and his dad. But anyway, long story short, Ted Cruz has no convictions. He worshipped at the altar of Trump after the man, insulted his wife and his dad. That couldn't have never been me, but I'm just saying. So, but here's the thing about the contrast. This is one of the most stark contrasts in the country, just like you see with Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. The contrast couldn't be more stark between Senator Cruz and Congressman Allred. You're talking about someone who supports women's reproductive rights, being Allred, someone who doesn't in Cruz, who is actually, even most Republicans in Texas support an exception for a woman to have an abortion for rape or incest, but not Ted Cruz. He wants a strict, absolute abortion ban. Just like we've heard about Project 2025, Ted Cruz is already doing those things in Texas. He supported ending diversity, equity, and inclusion in Texas. He supported when Governor Abbott went after voting rights. Ted Cruz was saying, yes, we should do this. So he's been on the wrong side of all the key issues: voting rights, women's reproductive rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ted Cruz has been against any gun reform legislation. He's totally in the pockets of the National Rifle Association. So this seat is winnable. This seat is winnable because most Texans don't agree with the extreme MAGA policies that Ted Cruz supports. He is one of the least liked U.S. senators in the country, and he also lost a lot of respect from even Republicans when we had Winter Storm Uri, and we had millions of Texans that didn't have power, and we had tens of thousands of Texans that died from the fact that many of the people froze to death, literally froze to death, Santita. Ted Cruz decided that this was the best time for him to get the hell out of Dodge to go to Cancun. So now we label him Cancun Cruz, because when we were suffering, and when Congressman Allred was doing everything to get resources in and working with first responders, Cancun Cruz was taking a vacation to get away from it all because he just didn't want to be a part of it. So when that's what did Martin Luther King
how
say?
did he face his constituents?
Because
I remember when the cameras caught him.
Oh, he's a coward. I mean, just like he hid during January 6th. I mean, he hid doing that. He did. Oh, let me tell you what he did, Santita. This is where even some of his loyal supporters said, "Okay, come on, man." He tried to blame his daughter. He said, "Well, it was my daughter. She wanted to get away." I mean, come on, really? That's your response, Senator Cruz? I have a daughter. I have two daughters. I wouldn't have said, "Yeah, guess what? Well, it was my daughter's fault, y'all. I was just trying to be a good dad." Like, come on, man, really? And one of his daughters, Santita, was kind of maybe bisexual. Well, he made some basically controversial comments about her, and there's been a strain on the relationship with his daughter. So Senator Cruz is just a vile person. He's not a good person. No one really in the state even really likes him unless they are very, 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 very conservative. But he's out of touch with Texas values. He's out of touch with the diversity of our state, whether it's African American or Hispanic. And here's the thing, Santita, a lot of Hispanics that vote for him are voting Hispanic surname. They don't understand that he's voting against policies that support, like he's not for Medicaid expansion. Texas leads the nation with the highest number of uninsured, but he doesn't want Medicaid expansion, but he has great health care that's paid for with tax dollars from all of us across the country with his federal health plan. But he doesn't want people to have health care. Black women lead the nation in Texas in maternal deaths, but he doesn't ever speak to that issue. As far as he knows, that's not an issue, right? So the issues that he's talking about is border, immigration. So he's touting all the conservative talking points about illegal immigrants, crime. He's not talking about Medicaid expansion. He's not talking about raising the minimum wage. Texas has $7.25 an hour. We're one of the few states that still doesn't have a livable wage. We're one of the 10 states that didn't do Medicaid expansion. He's good with that. So the real issues that most kitchen table issues that people care about in Texas, he's out of touch with. And that's why I'm so enthusiastic about Congressman Colin Allred, and was happy to join Congressman Jim Clyburn to stump for him in my district yesterday. We had a incredible rally, and there's a lot of enthusiasm. And the diversity, oh, it was beautiful. Caucasian, Black, Hispanic, Asian, women, men, trans, LGBTQ. It was such a great culmination of people. That's the big tent party that is going to help Colin Allred become the next United States Senator from Texas and the first African American. He's going to make history. When Kamala Harris makes history, he will make history. So I'm excited, and this is going to help us keep a blue trifecta. The only way that Kamala Harris, and I'm going to speak it into existence, Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, who's going to make history, the only way that they can get legislation passed is if they have the Senate. If they don't have the Senate, they can block everything that Kamala Harris wants to do. No voting rights, no women's reproductive right, restoring and codifying Roe. None of that can happen unless there's a Senate and a House that works with the White House. So you have to have it all. That's the only way Obama got the Affordable Care Act passed. He had a majority in both the Senate and the House. So right now, the Democrats control the Senate barely. The Republicans control the House. Guess what? There's nothing that's really getting done right now. So we need to give Kamala Harris a Senate majority, and Texas is the way to do it.
We're talking with Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Did you know that Ted Cruz is vulnerable? He's been vulnerable for a few cycles. Beto O'Rourke almost got that seat, and the last time he ran, he was within 2 or 3 points?
2 points. 2 points.
What didn't take him over the top? What might take Colin Allred over the top?
Well, this was before the Dobbs decision. The Dobbs decision changed. It was a game changer. I mean, women's reproductive rights were not at risk. And so now, post Dobbs, women are voting their values. Many of these suburban white women are saying, hey, enough is enough. Texas has the most restrictive abortion ban in the country. And it started in Texas and under people like Cancun Cruz. And so many of the independent women are leaning Allred. This is a neck and neck within the margin of error in terms of the polling. And there's enthusiasm right now for people to get out and vote. Beto was a transformational candidate. He was very charismatic. He brought that energy. And so that helped him. But now it's more of a policy conversation, right? Abortion is one of the top issues driving this election cycle in 2024 when you look at the polls. And I know there's a number of Anglo women who likely supported Cruz before that won't support him this time. Many of them independent and moderate Republicans. Again, you have people like Liz Cheney that are supporting Congressman Colin Allred. You have other Republicans who said that he should win. Senator Cruz doesn't have many Republicans coming to his aid because he's been one of the most disliked, if not the most disliked, if you Google it, probably it's Ted Cruz that comes up as the most disliked U.S. senator in the country. So there's not a lot of them that are coming and stumping for him. And so he doesn't have a lot of cheerleaders. So this race is so winnable, but people have to get out and vote. And so we believe that Kamala Harris has a shot. Texas is a battleground state. And like you said, Commissioner Rodney Ellis, our good friend, Harris County is about 25% of the vote. If we turn out the base in Harris County and they vote high, that's going to help erase some of the challenges that we have in rural areas in Texas where Republicans do very, very well in those rural areas. But if we run the numbers up in the suburbs and the urban areas, like in Harris County, in Dallas County, in Austin, and San Antonio, then we can have victory. And I feel very optimistic, more optimistic than I was the last several cycles. This is a game changer, and Texas has the chance to change the electorate in the country. So, and another thing, Colin Allred is raising a lot of money. There's a lot of money in donations coming from across the country, small dollar donations. A lot of people he's raised a ton of money. And he's running a very robust campaign. He's on TV all the time. He has a good grassroots campaign. So this is a very winnable race. This is not a shoestring budget. In fact, Beto raised a lot of money, but Colin has raised a substantial amount more. So I don't know if there's ever been a Democrat in Texas. I'm sure hasn't been, that has raised the money that Congressman Colin Allred has raised. So we're fired up. We're excited. We are today. Early vote starts. I'm going to cast my vote for Colin Allred today, and I think that I encourage everyone, take advantage of early voting. You don't want to wait until election day. Anything can happen. And Santita, the beauty of your show, you educate people. I'm voting for Kamala, and I'm going down ballot. I'm not going to stop voting until I get to the very bottom, where the local races are, the ones that really impact us the most. For my constable, for my justice of the peace. Most people will never see a district court judge, but people go to JP court every day for traffic tickets, for small things, for all kind of stuff, right? But so justice of the peace is very important. It's very important who's the constable in terms of law enforcement. So those elections are very critical. So don't undervote. Don't go vote for president or U.S. senator and go home. Go vote all the way down the ballot, because every vote counts. This could be a very critical election that could literally come down to 1 or 2 votes. Don't let that be your vote where you didn't vote and you helped decide the election. So this is a great time to get educated on what's on the ballot. And Santita, I'm really excited that you're showing vigilante, because it is so important for people to understand that if your vote wasn't as important as it is, they wouldn't be trying so dang hard to take it away. It's amazing how hard they try to take our votes away through voter suppression, through all these tactics, through we've seen such a emphasis on voter purges, and that's a legal way to strike people from the polls, the franchise. Well, it's time for us to fight back, and the way we fight back is to elect people that care about voting rights, that care about our democracy. There should be same-day registration in every state. Right? There should be online voter registration. We should make voting more accessible, not more difficult. But that's what's happening in places like Texas.
Well, we are still looking at a race that is tighter than this, all one word, if you will. It is a statistical dead heat. Statistical dead heat. That's what we're hearing, and that's what the polls are showing us at the top of the ticket. Everyone is focusing on that. But when you start going down ballot, this is when you see the consequential aspects of the top of the ticket. Part of the problem that President Biden presented was that he was a drag on the rest. He was dragging the rest of the Democratic ticket down. And part of the excitement for Vice President Harris was that at least her initial entry, her rollout was a relief. It was like, oh, someone new, and there was that. But now, of course, dust always settles. Excitement, gives into reality, and people are still excited. But she still needs to, and the political scientists are all talking about it now. She needs to be more exciting to the black voter, because she is. You really need to poll in the 90s as a black candidate if you're running state and certainly nationwide. You have to. You have to. Black people have to be extremely excited about you, and everybody else falls in line. And she's moving up, she's inching up, but it's something that she is really having to work on, which is why you see this concerted effort, particularly toward black men. Because I was reading and listening to some various shows. President Trump got 11% of the black male vote in 2020 in Georgia. But if he gets 12% this time, he can win. So that brings me to Texas. My question for you is he helping her or is she helping him, Colin Allred?
Ooh.
Are they helping each other? Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, I just, because you have two races that I can see now with Beto O'Rourke and now Colin Allred. They have touched a nerve.
Yes.
They have done something. And they did not lose. I mean, Beto didn't lose. He pushed Colin Allred to run. That's
right.
Nothing. He didn't lose. No.
That's right.
The Republican machinery is what it is. But Beto O'Rourke didn't lose. He won because he woke up. He awakened.
He did.
Texas.
He did.
I think, just as an observer, right?
Yeah.
But my question is now, given the fact that he is such a prolific fundraiser, that indicates that he's touched a nerve too. So, and while Vice President Harris has raised a lot of money, she's still struggling with a key demographic.
That's right.
And she needs to even do. She's of course doing extremely well with black women, but it's black women and black men together who have to put you over.
That's right.
Having said all of that, how is he doing, Colin Allred? How is he doing? And is he helping her or is she helping him?
That's a good point you made. And I never really thought about it, like analyzed it until now. But I think they're helping each other. I think she certainly helps him with bringing out black women, and he helps her with helping bring out black men. I mean, this is a former football player. He's a big guy. I mean, if you see him, he's like a big dude. I was reminded of how big he was when I took a picture with him yesterday, and I was standing with him on stage. He's a linebacker. He still has that big frame, and so he's not like a soft guy. So he's a guy that most guys be like, yeah, that's a guy I want to go vote for. I mean, he's a handsome guy, clean cut, articulate, athletic, former football player.
But wait. I don't think you can emphasize enough in the South.
Yeah.
How much college football in particular means. Can you please help us?
Oh, listen.
That's a big deal, yes?
Listen, for Texas, football is everything. Friday night lights, some of these towns shut down. Okay. They're at the football game. Football is gospel in Texas, right? Whether it's the Texans or the Cowboys or your college, UT was just number one. We just lost to Georgia, but football is everything. I mean, like literally, football is life in Texas, right? We love our football more even than basketball and baseball, but football. So football is gospel. And the fact that he's a former NFL player, he wasn't on the bench, he was starting, he played for many years. He has the respect of a lot of men. And so I would say that he's adding value because men are attracted to him, not in a sexual way, but like, hey, that's a guy I can relate to. This is a real brother. Like, yeah. So I think that he adds value to her, and they add value to each other, because if you go vote for Kamala, then you're likely voting for Colin. If you go vote for Colin, you're likely voting for Kamala, and that similar Colin Kamala. But I think that there is they both add value and bring something to the top of the ticket that's a draw, because his commercials show him. He has some very clever commercials saying that he is showing that he's a former football player and he'll fight for you, like they're very creative, right, to appeal to macho, manly man, right? And that's what I mean when you talk about Trump. I'm not going to discount the fact that Trump appeals to some brothers because they say he's a strong man.
Mhm.
I don't agree with his policies, but that's what they say.
You're taking the 30. Look, this is one has nothing to do with the other.
No.
At some point, what we have to do, I mean, and the point needs to start right now.
Right.
You need to recognize what people like about someone.
Yes.
It's all a Rorschach test.
Right.
You project onto your candidate what you need them to give to you.
That's correct.
I mean, Black women we see ourselves in Kamala.
That's right.
We do. And then some Black women do not. And that's a problem, right?
That's right.
Some Black men just say, that's my sister. Some Black men resent the fact that she's married to a man who's not Black. But then some Black men will say, well, she's gone with Black men before. She did go to an HBC.
Right.
I mean, everybody reads what they read.
Right.
And so I think that's why I had to ask you about football, because football, I mean, I'm from a football playing family in the South, and football is king. And that, I mean, my father has often said, he said, if I have a regret, I wish I had raised you kids in the South. Really? He said, oh yeah. He said, because church was everything.
Mm-hmm.
He said the Friday night football games, everything. Going high school.
Yeah.
He said, when you went to the basketball games, they were everything. He said they were such wholesome activities that the community rallied around.
That's right.
And so that's why I'm saying that, Colin already resonates already another way. And when you contrast him with what Cancun Cruz, bless his heart, running away from a storm.
That's right.
From adversity. But like he ran away from Trump. Come on now.
Right, exactly.
Look, I know who your daddy is now.
Yeah, yeah.
He was out the race.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember talking to some people very close to me. Please, it was my brother. He said if he had said about my wife what he said about mine, he said I just would have met him on the stage.
Thank you.
And he would have been hurt.
Right. No.
Are you for real? He said, no, I'm not your wife that way.
I mean, I would think, how does your wife even respect you? You mean you're not going to protect me? You're not going to stand up for me? And then you're going to go behind and endorse the man? Like, really? Like, nah, I mean, yeah, I think anybody would understand why he wouldn't have endorsed him, right? So, yeah, I mean, where's your manhood, right? Where's your dignity as your protector?
I don't know.
He showed that he didn't do that. And that's the contrast that Colin already is showing, is that he's willing to stand up. He's willing to fight. And Ted Cruz he's weak and inept at being a protector. Like when he talked about how Ted Cruz was hiding, on January 6th, and he made a point yesterday, said, hey, I didn't wish any harm on him, but I was there protecting the entrance of the door. Like he was giving a contrast of what he was doing versus what Ted Cruz was doing.
And you don't respect that.
Yeah. I mean,
so much of this that's it. I mean, so much of this comes down to, because Trump. Everyone listen to how Trump campaigns, because when he said, "Ladies, I will protect you," trust me, he melted the hearts of a lot of women. I'm not talking about whether you like him or not. That ain't
right.
Nothing.
Right.
This is optics.
Optics matter. That's right.
Optics matter. And so,
Optics matter. Yeah.
how can he help Kamala Harris?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. He helps her because Kamala doesn't appeal to men. Men are not as excited about Kamala. Black men, when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah. I mean, some of the ones that I know that are voting for her, right? I'm just being real with you, right?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
locker room talk. They're not like, oh, I can't wait. Yes, I'm going to vote for Kamala today. It's like, yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna do it.
yeah, I'm gonna vote for her,
Well, see,
but it's
wait a minute. See, this is, and I'm not beating up
yeah,
on, and I'm not beating up on
yeah,
black.
right,
I think black men are taking an unfair hit in this campaign. The number one voting bloc in the Democratic Party, black women. The number two, black men. So stop. But it's a
that's
game
right.
of. I heard black men say, and talk about locker room talk. I'm giving you what is it, beauty shop talk? Because we know our people, right? I got this. Stacey Abrams did not appeal to some black men because she did not have straight hair or straightened hair. Come on now.
Okay,
And some black women too. They
right.
were like, it doesn't look professional. Now, mind you, y'all, I've worn my hair every kind of way. Trust and believe. That was one of the jokes. When I was a senior in high school, they were like, girl, if we look at this yearbook, you have done it all. Freshman year, my mother cut all my hair off. I had like an inch of hair.
Wow.
I short low afro. Oh yeah, my mother did that with my sister too, because she said, and my sister's hair is down her back now, like, but she's a very grown woman, but she's not caught up in it. She doesn't wear it in the traditional way that a lot of people do, because her hair is bushy and she wears it out. She wears it out, and she's got a lot of hair. But her thing is, look, I was trying to disabuse you of the notion that you needed hair to be pretty.
Mm.
And I didn't want you to get caught up, Santita, in your hair texture. I didn't want Jackie to get caught up in eye color and color. There were a lot of things that I was doing, and she said, "You all didn't know what I was doing at the time. I'm your mom. I'm the adult." But I wanted to do so. When you all got older, you all wore every hairstyle known to anybody because, hair was not your concern. Hair became my concern when I turned 40 and I was told you need to lighten it up because dark hair is going to make you look old. You need to do highlights. That's what happens. And it also happens when you are from a family like mine that does not gray for a long time. That never been said. I mean, but I don't place my esteem is not in that, but there have been a lot of games that have been played on black people and hair is an issue. And I would hear people say things about Stacey Abrams. I'm like, this woman is blindingly brilliant. When she gives a speech, when you hear her break down policy, from speeches to breaking down the finer points of policy, she is untouchable. What do you mean you have to think about voting for her? And she lost that race. Really, if she had had a few more percentage points with black men and not many, she would have been governor. But now I'm seeing Kamala's got another set of problems. Now, the common strain with both of them is that they're both women. Now, and women run these churches. And I was talking to a friend of ours who was the pastor of a big church. And I asked him because he's a family friend, so it's family talk. I said, did you consider a woman as your replacement? He said, absolutely. He said, but it was the women who would have blocked it. I said, oh, wow. Well, we can do that. He said, so, yeah. And there were some I put in the queue and some came to speak, but for one reason or another, they were not supported. Everybody, we've all got a lot of healing to do. So that's why I'm asking, because now because I can't help but look at, Colin Allred, who is also, he has a white parent. And we've got this wave of half white black people. I mean, it's the whole biracial thing.
Right.
That has never really existed in our community because one drop, you want a little dabble, do you? Biracial is something, a friend of mine, put it so brilliantly. Del Marie Cobb, she's a brilliant media strategist, and she was one of my father's deputy press secretaries in the '88 campaign. She was traveling in South Africa, and they asked her if she were colored. She said, "No, I'm black." And they looked at her, and she said, "Wait, wait." They said, "Are you sure you're not biracial?" She said, "Absolutely not." She said, "Biracial is a term that white women coined when they started having black babies."
Hmm.
I said, "Now that's true." I'm no shade, because race is a really tough thing, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard nut to crack in America, and it's the black blood that always throws people off. Mariah Carey, if she'd been part East Indian, fine. People take umbrage with Kamala, with the black part of Kamala, not the East Indian part.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, if you just keep on going down the line, oh, you remember when I had that big fro? Absolutely. Well, all I have to do is blow out my hair. It's not a master of disguises. I blow out my hair because Robert, I couldn't get a relaxer, so you know that didn't work for me. So what I did was, and I had to do a whole lot to make my hair be real big. I had to use a diffuser, and it took 30 minutes every morning. Not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that. No, I'm just not going to do that, Robert. It's just I went through a whole lot to get the big hair. Okay, I don't have that. I don't have that kind of energy. That's 30 minutes on top of 90 minutes it takes me to get ready in the morning. Yes, it does. That having been said, I'm trying to pick apart the smaller, the granular pieces that people really do think about, Representative Reynolds. Because this is the chitter chatter we heard when Stacey Abrams was running. This is some of the chitter chatter we hear as Kamala Harris is running.
That's right.
Okay. This is some of the chitter chatter we hear. Not so much about men, because we don't judge men the same way with looks. For women, that's an issue. That's why it's interesting. All of this is really interesting. That's why I just trying to figure out what can get Colin Allred over the top. Times have changed,
No,
like you said,
no,
the
no.
Dobbs decision.
Yeah. No. I think that Kamala helps him because she motivates more black women,
Okay.
and those black women are going to vote for Allred. They're not going to vote for Cruz.
Now, is he
Period.
married to a black woman or a white?
I was just going to bring you, girl. You one step ahead of me. Here is the one knock that these sisters have.
It's
Hey,
the Santita Jackson show, y'all.
look,
You know how
the
I do.
one knock that I hear from the sisters is that he married to a white woman.
And
Yeah,
is his mother white?
yeah, yes.
Okay, so he married someone who reminded him of
Yep. He got a white blonde haired woman that he seems to be madly in love with.
who reminds him of
Of his
him.
mom, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm
So
just,
look,
I'm just putting it out there because I can't, I don't take umbrage with. Look, whoever
yeah,
you choose,
yeah.
you come
Love
up
is
with
love.
something that makes good sense
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
God
So
bless you.
so that's the one knock that the sisters say about it. one commercial, he has his wife in the commercial.
Is she tucked behind him?
She's it's a family photo, and they show him and the wife and the baby, and some of them sisters, they said, "Ooh, here go, yeah, is that at that part? Yeah, here go another brother
Here we
and a white
go.
woman.
NFL, professional
Yeah,
athlete.
yeah. So
And look, and in defense of the sisters, let me tell you why black women feel some kind of way. If you're white, you're all right. If you're yellow, you're mellow. If you're brown, stick around. If you're black, get back. That has always been very harshly applied to black women. Black men too, but black women, a woman's currency is her beauty, and it's a horrible thing. I struggled with weight most of my life. People receive me very differently now that I am no longer overweight. People consider me, I can't even get it out, consider me to be a slender woman now. And my father was very, very encouraging. He said, baby, I'd rather you have an overdeveloped brain than an overdeveloped behind.
Mm.
So just, he never ever diminished me. And for that, who I'm so
Mm.
grateful. And when I went to get weight loss surgery, he went to California with me and he took a week off work. My father doesn't take a day.
Wow.
Now, did he work? Did he rock the phone? Yes. Did he have a couple of staff members with him? Yes. But everyone at his offices said, whew, you better pray that she makes it because Reverend doesn't take a day off. And he met me in California that Monday morning, and he didn't leave till that Saturday. And he was out of the country and called me 3 or 4 times a day.
Mm.
Called my doctor every day for about 3 years. I mean, every month, once a month for 3 years to find out what is her blood work, what is her weight, where should she be, how is she doing? Do you think she's taking her the all that she needs? For that, I'm so grateful. But in that experience, everybody, I learned how people judge you on your looks. And so my father told me as I slimmed out, now I don't want you to lean on that because you've always been smart. Stay there. Stay there. And I appreciated that. Um, and I know that that's something, part of the hit that Kamala takes. And I'm certainly not as pretty as Kamala Harris is. She takes hits on that. She does. But then she also gets a lift on that. I mean, because that's what we do to women. We do that to women. We do it. We do it. And because that's why I'm looking. That's why I had to ask you about Colin Allred. I'm like, okay, what is his wife? I mean, because some sisters are looking at her like, all right, yeah, right. I know the lift you've gotten from what you look like. Because part of what attracts many black women to Michelle Obama is that she doesn't look like Kamala.
That part. Yes, I heard that.
They wrote it in the Newsweek magazine article, the profile they did of her in 2008. They said, what matters about Michelle, you must understand, is that she is brown, really brown. I'm putting all this stuff out there, everybody, because all this stuff is real. Oh, Carol, I love you. You're so sweet. I'm good.
Santita,
Yes.
that's funny you say that because I would, the most common thing I would get when it was Barack and Michelle was that he had him a real sister. When I said what, I knew what they meant, like a real dark skinned black woman.
Guess
With,
who they did that about first?
hmm?
Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Hmm.
My mother said, I helped your father,
Mm-hmm.
black women, because my mother would come to the dormitory. My mother was furious one night because she didn't have, my mother never carried ID. She was going to the Howard Inn, which was the Howard Hotel. She didn't have, and they stayed there all the time, and they wouldn't let her in. They wouldn't let her just pay for her room. My mother was furious. She comes to the dorm. She's splendidly dressed. And the dorm mother didn't believe she was my mom.
Mm.
My mother and I are not that often color, but phenotype, okay. And she went off. And she said, so you don't think that could be my daughter? Is that it?
Mm.
Oh, and I was like trying to get my mother out the lobby. Because, my mother's a real one. I was like, Mom, she said, oh no. And I'm not going to repeat all that she said. She said, oh no. She said, I'm clear on what this is now. I got it. She said, but this is my child. I carried her. She looks like her daddy, but I carried her. Because people have that reaction. My brother Jonathan, they have that.
Yep.
I'm like, well, he's my full-on brother. What? We tumbled out in 2.5 years. Boom, boom, boom. Jesse, Johnny, Santita. So I'm like, y'all, wait a minute. I was sharing a room with him until I was 7. I've known him every day of his life. Okay, so what? Oh, Carol, if one day I will get my mother on, trust me. And Robert, I was not diminishing my looks at all. I don't lean on them. I thank you so much. But I would tell you something. I was just trying to make a point about how we can be a looks-driven society, and we can make some consequential decisions really based in our pain and our past. And and Colin Allred, don't discount the fact that his wife might remind him of his mom, and that's
That's
natural.
right. That's right.
Now, it's if his politics, if he were anti-black woman, then I got a problem with you.
Yeah.
And for some black men who I'm not light enough for. So give me that part. So I'm like, enough.
Right.
I need him to represent me well, be an advocate on reproductive rights, but be
That's right.
an advocate on DEI,
That's right.
affirmative action, on voting rights, on
Yes.
police
All of
reform.
that. That's
I
right.
need I need that part. That's why I support Dennis Kucinich in Ohio, because he's an advocate. He's the only person. He needs to sit on the stage with Barack and Hillary.
That's
He's
right.
the only candidate who said 10 toes down, I am for reparations, and let me tell you why. He didn't stutter. He didn't stop. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about, Ron.
That's right. You're right.
I mean, that's why I had to look. I know you're like, Lord, when you get off the air with me, you're gonna say, this girl asked me these questions in this interview, but come on, that's a real thing. And I don't want to see him lose the race on that, because he could.
That's right.
Because I mean, I've seen the comments that men are making about, and not just men, but mostly men are making about Kamala and her husband. And I'm like, y'all gave her a hard time about Willie Brown.
I know.
I'm like, what? Can she win? What?
Santita, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is the part I don't like about some of the hypocrisy I get from the Republicans about the Willie Brown stuff. They talk about her being a hoe. I mean, I'm just gonna be real. They say, oh, she's a, and I'm like, wait a minute. You got Donald Trump who said he can grab him by the pee. He's had all these adulterous affairs. Don't come at that kind of hypocrisy, because
who owns a beauty contest.
That's an argument they don't need to be making about Kamala. Like, you don't even want to have that morality argument with Trump. Don't. I mean, come on. That's the worst one you can. There is no moral equivalency when you talk about her issue with Willie Brown.
Look, what? Hold on. Claire, now look, I'm going to give you what y'all give to us. Chris Rock said a man is as faithful as his options. This is a billionaire who owns the Miss Universe contest.
Right.
He has had a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, right.
So just everybody stop.
Right.
Okay? Now I'm done with that. But you go to Washington, that's why my mama wouldn't let me be a page, right?
But I didn't like the fact that they would try to drag her behind the Willie Brown. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's not as much as
powerful man in town who's attractive. And if you meet Willie Brown, he's got charisma that is.
Oh, he's smooth. I met him. I met him through Rodney. Him and Rodney are close. I met him. That's how I met him. Smooth.
And he knows everybody.
Yeah. Always clean.
If he zeroes in on you, you're going to fall in love with him too.
Yeah.
And so just enough, y'all.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
No. Leave her alone.
Thank you.
And let's deal with what is real. Okay.
Exactly.
That's going to impact you.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. So going back, I think that they help each other. I think that Colin brings something that she doesn't bring, and she brings something he doesn't bring. And together, I think they increase the potential turnout, because they both have different strengths. Like the Divine Nine is excited, especially the women, about Kamala. They're not really excited about Colin. But regular dudes are like, man, yeah, that's a cool dude right there. And a lot of these guys, now this is probably real locker room talk. A lot of the guys are impressed because he is a former football player, and some of the guys are impressed that he got a pretty white woman. So they not offended. The dudes, there's no brother that says I'm offended because he has the white wife.
Trust and believe. Now I already know that.
Yeah. They like, man, Colin, man, he he the man,
He's
you know.
the
So
man.
yeah. I mean that's the real talk that we don't normally like share out loud. But that's the guys in the barbershop think Colin, hey, he living the life, So I think that they bring out different things, and so I think that he's helping her and she's helping him.
Okay.
And we should have a very nail biter come November 5th. I think it's going to be a very close race, and I think that she's going to do better in Texas than people think. I don't think she's going to win. I don't think Kamala's going to win Texas, but I think Colin has a chance to win Texas. He has a very good shot at winning Texas. Trump will likely carry our state, unfortunately, but she will close the gap and make it very competitive, and her base turnout will help Colin.
Okay. Well, you know what? Look, this has been a wonderful conversation. We were going to have our political scientists with us, but we just had one of these conversations, and I'm glad we did. Well, because all of these little pieces that we brought in.
That's right.
The fact that he's got a white mother, identifies as a black man.
Yeah.
More moderate, but that's all right. He's got to run as that. And he's got a white wife. All of these are things that people are looking at as you place people, as you make up your mind about how you feel about someone, whom you vote for. It really comes down to how you feel about.
That's right. Right. That's right.
And so that's why I had to ask you.
Hey,
okay, what are you seeing down there? And what are the sisters saying? What are the brothers saying? What are the Latinos saying? Because it's a culture. It's not a color. Everybody fits under that umbrella.
Santita, I gotta say this. This is something that I didn't really think about it till you talked about Stacey Abrams. But when I look at Obama, white people were very comfortable with Obama. When I look at Colin, white people are very comfortable with Colin, and I think some of it is the biracial, the complexion. I don't know if Colin was, I don't know if they would be as comfortable with him as they would be if it was Raphael Warnock. I don't know. I mean, maybe they would, but I don't think so. I mean, a lot of these white people, they're super. I mean, at the rally we had for Colin, these white people love Colin too. He has a appeal for white women, and they like him. They really do. And that's why he's outpolling Kamala because of white women. I think a lot of that is the difference, and it could be a portion of the men as well. But Colin is polling about 3 or 4 points above Kamala.
He's too good looking for the men, but for the women, trust and believe. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and we have to be clear on the politics of it, but you never know how God is going. God can hit a straight lick with a crooked stick.
Right.
And so, you use it all, as my father says.
Yeah, you use what you got. Yeah.
So that's it. But like I said, I've seen this before. Seen it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When my father's only approved biography, this man said that he was from what is it called, a racially ambiguous family. What? I was like, where? And this guy was from Greenville, South Carolina, but he was from a prominent white family. But he knew my father's family. So he said, you need to understand your background. I said, oh, okay. But that made some white people feel more comfortable with him. And my mother said, and he related to white people in a way that I did not, because my mother came from Zora Neale Hurston's Florida.
Oh, okay.
But she taught at my grandmother's grammar school. Zora Neale Hurston did. Eleanor Roosevelt and Mary McLeod Bethune used to visit them at their grammar school. And my mother's background is very different than my father's background. She said, your father related to white people differently. She said, and as I got to, as our marriage evolved and as I met more and more of his family, I said, oh, they're related to them. The house at the corner of the A&T campus is a mini mansion, about 20 rooms or so. It was where my great grandfather lived, and he was a white man, Mr. Sizemore.
Wow.
And and all of my great aunts were very well educated, Yale University of Pennsylvania, all of that. And I said, wow. My father said, yeah. He said, our lives, this is America, honey. Our lives are quite complex. He said, but at the end of the day, he said, I love the fact that they were black people who fought for black people. And they fought for the least of these. And that was that. I mean, these are the backgrounds, everybody. But we're putting all this stuff out here because guess what? This is real. That's why I had to
Yeah.
ask how and
Yeah.
all that. I'm like,
That's
who is
right.
he?
Yeah.
Okay. And you said to me, no, let me tell you, he's doing real well with white women. And there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying
Right.
it's good to know how this might add up. And he might do better with white women than Beto did
Right.
for a whole lot of reasons. We're going to keep, gotta have you back. Now don't go talking bad about me when you get off this here today. Well, I just had
Oh,
to bring it up. I had to because all of these things are factors. But I tell you what, everybody, please get out and vote. Go to vote.org. Find out if you're still on the voter rolls. Find out where your polling place is. Find out if you have early voting in your area. Get out and vote. More than 14 million people have voted all across the country. People are energized about these campaigns, not just the one at the top of the ticket, but all of them. So everybody. And what did you say, Carla? Your daddy is right. This is America, and it certainly is complex. It is. It really is. It really is. And for my mother's portion, she even said of my father, she sat my brothers and my sister and I down. She said, "Look, as he runs, do not be surprised that they're going to make him mixed and not black."
mm.
She said this 40 years ago, and we were like, "What?" She said, "No, no, 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 because that's going to make people comfortable." Michael Jackson understood that.
Yep.
The
Yep.
challenge they had when they had Thriller, after you'd been shut out with Off the Wall, which was the biggest selling, that album pulled um, pulled the record industry out of a recession. But he
Mm.
got out at the Grammys. He walked away. He said, "Quincy, we're gonna have the biggest album of all time." By the time they finished it, Quincy Jones said, "We've got it." He called my mother and father and his friends around the country and said, around the world, this is going to be the biggest album ever. But the challenge
Wow.
will be how to have a black man sell the biggest pop album in history. My mother said they'll turn him white.
Mm.
And my father was like, "Oh, Jackie, here we go. Here we go."
Wow.
Those are the politics
Yep.
of the world as we know it, everybody. I am Santita Jackson. This is Representative Ron Reynolds. We just love you, Ron Reynolds. What you say? Rock locker talk. I'm keeping real. I just love you, and I love you, Morning Stars. The Santita Jackson Show. Thank you for being so patient with us today as we were getting everything running. But it all worked out, didn't it?
Yes.
AM 950 Radio, Voice of Progressive Minnesota. God bless you, everybody.